ask any baller. If you know, you know.
The game has changed, but it's still the same. You want it, go get it.
Shazam! The inbounds pass comes into Jordan. Here's Michael at the foul line. The shot on Elo. The Bulls win! They win it!
Mike, you're honestly telling me that he's top 5.
Yeah.
Top 5 of all time.
No question about it.
Booker, this is for the win. Got it! Wow! The ruling on the floor is made basket.
You know, one thing's for sure. Over at Valley Sports Plug, you're never going to catch us slipping. With the first overall pick, the Phoenix Suns select.
3, 2, 1, yeah!
Welcome to Pass the Outlet, episode 5. I'm your co-host, Michael Benjamin, joined as always by Chris Patrick. Chris, how you doing tonight, man?
Good, Mike. Happy to be here. Glad to be making another Pass the Outlet, bringing it to the people. So let's get to it.
Very excited about tonight. We have a very special guest, but before we bring him on, we just want to say thank you for everybody who's joining us tonight. If you can, make sure you follow us on all socials, Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter at AZ_VSP. You can find us on Facebook at Valley Sports Plug and also on YouTube where you're watching this right now. But without further ado, we have a very special guest. It's the sports director of the Ross Farnsworth East Valley YMCA and a Phoenix Suns court attendant, a.k.a. a Phoenix Suns ball boy. At least that's what they called it back in my day. But please, with a warm welcome, help me bring on Jacob Moreno. Jacob, how you doing tonight, man?
Doing fantastic, Mike and Chris. Appreciate you guys having me on. Really excited to get into some conversation, man.
You know, Definitely. You're one of the best people to have on because this is what this show is all about: bringing on people who love the game, who have really, gone through different phases within the game, different experiences, and bringing them to others who might not have the same. So we appreciate you for joining us. But Chris, before we get started, you got anything else for the people?
No, man, not too much. Just looking forward to the Suns season starting in particular. Really happy to have Jacob on and get this nice conversation going. Really pick his brain on everything he does at the YMCA and with the Phoenix Suns. I expect it's going to be a really awesome conversation.
All right, Jacob, are you ready, man?
I'm ready, man. I'm ready.
All right. So obviously, when first 2 episodes, me and Chris kind of took a deep dive into our past and our history. But I really want to start off right away by asking you, when did you start playing basketball?
Yeah. So I had an older brother growing up. My brother is 7.5, 8 years older than me. So we were always outside playing basketball. I feel like I probably started around 4 or 5 whenever, kids have the coordination to pick up a ball. But I was in, you have an Arizona league and, youth sports, you name it, I was in it. Like NJB, WHAM, the Y at one point. I played basketball everywhere I possibly could growing up. I played a lot of different sports growing up, and until I quit football in like 6th grade is when I really started to take basketball serious, and it became my sport and my passion.
That's awesome.
So So in terms of like my playing, I used to play club, used to play AAU, play that for about 7th, 8th grade. And then when I went to high school, I kind of like transitioned high schools. I went to Brophy College Prep my first year. Didn't really, find a home, find a connection with the people there. So I ended up moving back to Highland High in Gilbert, but I still commuted from Central Phoenix all the way out here, and didn't end up playing high school ball, but I found the Y, and I found somewhere where I could still grow myself and grow my skills in the game. So I kind of ran with basketball at the Y.
Beautiful.
Yeah, so I heard you talk there about like I think you said like sixth grade is when really like things kind of started to have you focus on basketball more. Would you say that's when like kind of the light switched, or was there another point where you knew like basketball was going to continue to be a big part of your life going forward?
Yeah, I would say that's when the light switch for the sport, um, where it switched for like my for my career. What I wanted to do was it was a little later in high school. So when I came back to Highland, I tried out for the team. This is my sophomore year. Tried out for the team. I didn't make it. So I went to the Y. I went to the place right down the street, and kept working on myself, on my game, on my mental game, and not letting failure kind of hold me back. And so I kind of just kept stuck with the game, stuck with my mentality of working hard. Like I said, I played football, and sometimes I do play like a football basketball player, which you see a lot at the Y. But
Oh yeah.
I play the game, how I run my life, like 100 miles an hour, always trying to go, always trying to get better, always trying to improve. And that's just kind of how I approach every day. So
That's a yeah. That's the
yeah,
right mentality, man.
yeah. And I would say this, the switch flipped for me in terms of my career. I didn't really know that I was gonna have a passion for trying to make this, basketball or sport my career until I was in high school, and I was doing Spanish 3. It was my one of my electives, and my friends got into a class that was called sports marketing. And in order to be in that class, you had to be in a previous marketing class. So I wasn't able to sign up for it, but I went to the teacher, talked to the teacher, and just told them, how I love the game, and how I, had a suspicion that I could do it for a career, and got accepted into the class. At the time, it was only like 10 kids, and that's kind of where things started to click, or the light switch flip for me in terms of making my love, my passion, my career.
Jacob, I feel like when I started as a sports director over at the Chandler Gilbert Y, I think you were right at the tail end of high school, and I think you
Mhm.
were still playing within our leagues. Do
Yeah.
you have like a favorite memory from playing in those on those rec teams, or like a
Yeah.
specific
Oh,
moment or anything like
yeah,
that?
definitely, definitely. I've got two that really, really come to mind. One's a not so great one. I'll start with the better one. Better one is, I always say, I think I hold the record for threes in the Ross Farnsworth gym. It was like, I think it was like eight or nine. I know I had like over 30 points in the game. So I always say, oh, that kid, like if I see a kid, hitting 3-4 threes in a game, I'm like, oh, he's close to breaking the record. He's close to breaking the record. It's an unofficial record, not anywhere hanging in the rafters of the Ross Farnsworth East Valley gym, but in my head, that's definitely one of my favorite games. And then my other one, which is not so a great one, but it sticks with me because I always think about how I improve, how I can get better. We lost to I had me and this one kid on another team. We kind of had a rivalry going back and forth throughout the regular season. We played each other in like our evaluation games, played each other in the regular season, and ended up seeing each other in the playoffs. And I just remember having like a really intense game back and forth. I go down, shoot a pull up jump shot. He comes down, tries to back me down, gets a good pump fake. Teammate drops, finds his teammate, finds his girlfriend who's on the team. She hits threes, and she had about like 6 or 7 threes on our team. And they ended up winning that game. But I always think about that one because the funny thing now is he trains kids and is actually a coach in my high school league. So it's been fun seeing him and being able to reminisce a little about our days in the Y and playing high school ball here at the Y when now we're both coaches for high school at the Y. It's really, really awesome.
So it all came full circle for both of
Full
you. That's
circle.
so awesome, man.
Yeah, and I that's one thing I love about the Y, and I've been here for so long. Since, like you said, since high school, I started when I was 17. I worked at Harkins for 6 months, and then came over here, and just I started volunteering. I did 100 hours community service here, and they really liked me, and the sports director at that time really liked me, so she brought me on actually before Greg Bauslag was even here. Yeah, I just found my passion at the Y, really early on as just a regular sports assistant. And that's one thing I'm really grateful about is I've had a lot of what feel like full circle moments in my life in the past year or two.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of basketball players can relate to that story about having like a rivalry with someone, even if it's just for a game, and like you're kind of maybe chirping back and forth, going back and forth. But at the end of the day, usually you'll dap each other up and say good game and you appreciate the competition. I mean, I kind of had a similar thing like that last night in our adult league. And even when you were talking there, remembered when I was younger, very similar story. But is there anything else that you want to share about your earlier days of basketball?
Yeah, the biggest thing is, I don't know if anyone young kids are watching, but when I coach, I tell my high school kids this, and I tell my younger kids this is, it's not you're never too old or too far to get better or to improve. And one thing I wish I would have done is in my junior and senior year, after I put in the work and kept working in summers and throughout the year on my game, I wish I would have gone out and tried out again. I wish I would have gone out there and proven that I could have potentially had a part on the team. And that's one thing I always maybe thought I could have done better. I'm not going to say regret, because I'm really happy and grateful for the experiences I've had in my life. But I would definitely say you're never too old to get better, and you're never too old to give up, for sure.
I mean, that's the truth. We got a good buddy who plays on Sundays with us, Mike Howard. Every time I'm texting him about, hey, when we're playing, if he can't make it, he says, hey, I'm not going to be there, but make sure you go out there and get better. So it's all about the right mentality, even when you start getting old like me, you know what I'm saying? But well, awesome. Everybody starts somewhere. Everybody has different experiences, joining the game. And now we're getting into the really exciting part, because it was something that I also experienced as well, working with the Phoenix Suns as a court attendant. So when did that start for you, and how did that opportunity arise for you?
Yeah. So I'll start with when it happened. I was a high schooler. I've been working at the Y for about 6 months, and through my friend in high school, I had made this friendship with junior year, and we both kind of bonded over the Phoenix Suns. So we would go, watch the $5 student passes back when we're a lottery team, right? Not winning any games. We're going to Steve Nash's Ring of Honor night for $5, right? Something that probably will never happen again. So my book's first season, I watched all 82 games. I fell back in love with the Phoenix Suns because of Devin Booker. And my senior year, my friend that I had made bonding over the Suns told me that he heard about open interviews through a mutual Suns fan he had on Twitter. Right? It was it was as strung together as that. Right? It was just a random occurrence. He heard about open interviews through this guy. We went down. We applied. Or we dressed up, brought our resumes. We didn't have to submit anything. We kind of just showed up, and they interviewed 5 of us at a time. I interviewed with my best friend at that time, or he's still my best friend, Chase. Works at the OTQY right now. Interviewed with him, the guy who told him about it, and then actually someone who ended up not getting the job but came back later and reapplied, who now one of my closest friends. Went to his wedding last week. But so I got that job when I was a senior in high school, out of just a random occurrence. And it's been the greatest experience for me in my life, aside from being able to coach youth and help younger kids. That's been one of the most rewarding and just awesome things that I've ever done. Right. Because I've been there now. This is going into my 7th year. And I feel like there are a lot of people who sometimes aren't like fully appreciative of the things that we get to do. We get to be on the court. We get to, even if you're helping in a timeout, you're still in the arena. You're where the greatest basketball in the world is being played. So I'm just so grateful for that opportunity and grateful that I've been able to be there since I was 17.
So it's very similar to the same thing that I went to. My dad found it online. They just had open interviews in the concourse. I went down there, same thing, suit and tied it up, had my resume printed, went in there as professional as I could be and answered the questions. My dad coached me up, and kind of the same similar situation. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's awesome. My kicker was my dad was a season ticket holder back in the right. They stopped getting season tickets right before Barkley came, but he had a Phoenix Suns tie. So I wore my dad's Phoenix Suns tie, and that was like the little thing I feel like pushed me over the edge in that interview.
There you go. You got to have something that makes you stand out just a little bit.
Exactly. It's just a little nice touch. Little nice touch.
Right. So when you got hired after that interview, have you had that same position the whole time, or have you held different positions with your time?
Yeah, so back when I was initially hired, it was still called Ball Kid. Right. We helped out with halftime promotions, timeouts, all the little nuanced things, right? I remember spending like 30 minutes before a game putting on flyers like on a third or 2/3 of the arena by myself because all the other ball kids went down to the court to rebound. I was out there just finishing the flyers, trying to fly so I can go rebound for PJ. Yeah, so that was kind of my early days, and we used to help out a lot with those halftime promotions, game ops promotions. And then COVID hit, and when COVID hit, they still needed us, right? They needed what we do, rebound for the coaches, game time, clean the wet spots during the game. So they still really needed us. So when they brought us back, the position kind of evolved a little. And we also started getting some more responsibility in the back, a year or two prior, doing laundry, cleaning up the locker rooms, that type of stuff. And that was really a big part of, just making us all basketball operations. So when COVID hit, they made us under the umbrella of basketball operations, no longer under the umbrella of game operations, but basketball operations. And that's when the title kind of changed from court attendant to court attendant. We have a really strong crew. There's about, I think, 6 of us who have been there for over 5 years. So we've had like cohesion, just like I would say, just like the starting 5, right? Just like them, we have been able to work and with each other for multiple years, and just got that when we show up, we know our job, we get it done, and we don't have many people having to tell us what to do, because we already know what our job is. We know what to do. So yeah, our position has kind of evolved a little, and there's definitely been some more responsibility with it. And it's also just become a lot cooler setting. They have not done those open interviews, I think, in about 3 years. So wow. It's been a while. Yeah.
Well, if you've got a cohesive unit, there's really no need to bring guys back, if you already kind of know who you're set with. And that was one thing that was different in my couple of years that I worked there. We were always kind of bringing in some new people. Mm-hmm. But they definitely narrowed it down to the people who were going to be on the court consistently by the time that I finished up there. But so it's, once again, I was wondering if you ever did any flyers, because I was gonna kind of upset if you guys never did anything like that. Because
I'm not a half-asser. I'm gonna it frustrates me when I don't do something well. So I was like, yeah, man, I don't care if I'm just putting flyers on a seat. I'm gonna kill this. I'm gonna do it well. I'm gonna go fast. I'm gonna do it efficiently. So yeah, there's the little things that help build up and help. It's like my job at Harkins, I'm so appreciative of that, because it it taught me hard work. It taught me how to clean, how to do little tasks, and little tasks are underappreciated.
Very true. Now that you've been there for 7 years, I'm sure you've seen the ins and outs, not only with your position, but different people who work within the organization. Is there another position that one day you hope to find yourself working within the organization?
Within the organization, with any organization, I would love to, at some point in my career, probably 10, 20 years down the road, become like a president of basketball operations. I feel like a lot of what I do right now in, my director position at the Y, there's a lot of different little things that, can encompass that role. For the Y, I do, our marketing, I do our registration process. I do the recruiting for specific teams, um, roster management, roster building, communication with coaches, all the little things that may potentially go into a general manager or president of basketball operations role. So, yeah, I would say the end goal for me is to eventually get there. The president of basketball operations, either for the Phoenix Suns or for any organization, but I know there's a lot of hard work that comes with that, and a lot of probably additional degrees that come with that as well.
Oh, without a doubt. It sounds like you're definitely headed in the right direction, though, with everything you're describing with your work ethic from on the court to your job, whether it's Harkins or putting the flyers on the seats. Those things do get noticed, and that work ethic will definitely take you far. So, I want to know though, in your yeah, of course, in your current role, what's been like your favorite moment as a court attendant?
Favorite moment. So there's a couple that ring to mind. It's always like the pops. I don't know if you guys are wrestling fans. The pops. So Stone Cold walks into the arena. That big just reaction, right? And those are the ones that I think vividly stick the most. There are a couple that I've been fortunate enough to be right center stage for too. I'll say the big one, big two or three. One was the Tyson Chandler alley-oop, right? He from the out of bounds line. I'm right there on that baseline. I think it's an out of bounds play. Tyson Chandler standing beneath the basket, just tips it in, right? And then we saw that again in the value, which I had the fortunate experience of being once again right there on that baseline. If you've seen the video of Jay Crowder, I'm literally right behind Jay Crowder. So thinking about that gives me goosebumps too, the value. But I would say my favorite one personally is not those two, because I love those big crowd pop. Would be the Tyler Eulis game winner. Marquise Chris gets up, plays good defense, causes a transition turnover. 5 seconds left. Tyler gets the ball, step back shot. That one, I borderline rushed the court. I was right there again on that baseline. I literally, I went out into the key, like waving a towel around my head. That was definitely like the moment I remember the most. Giving Marquise dap in the tunnel, telling him good defense. That was definitely something that is like one of my favorite memories.
So that's a incredible moment to share with the players who got to be involved in that play. So
Yeah.
Some of my favorite moments as well was the interaction I had with players. I very vividly remember a really awesome conversation I had with Luke Ridnour, who was a point guard for the Seattle Supersonics. And then back in my day, probably my favorite guy who I had a pretty good relationship with was Pat Burke, just a super funny guy. But was there anybody that you really had a cool relationship with or a cool interaction with as far as players goes?
As far as players go, would you say like cool interaction on the court during a game, or like just cool thing in general? Because
I know which one you're leaning towards, but let's save that one towards the end.
Okay, no,
So
because
another one on the court.
There's a couple things, right? Like I've always had 2-3 jobs ever since I was a senior in high school. Once I graduated, I always had 3 jobs, and so I worked at Culinary Dropout, and working at Culinary Dropout in Scottsdale, you'd see players come in consistently, and then I'd be able to have a little FaceTime, because during the game, as Mike, as you might know, players are locked in. They're unless they're like a goofy personality, right? They're locked in and ready for work. And I kind of, when I'm there, I kind of approach it the same. But cool interaction, I would say. So when right before COVID, they started giving us more responsibility, helping out in the locker rooms. There was one time I was in the away locker room, and It was a Grizzlies game. I think it was Ja Morant's rookie season. I'm just like, they're playing some music. I'm singing along a little underneath my breath. And Ja like saw me. He was like, "All right, bro, I see you. Like, go ahead, sing along." And I was like, "Yeah." And I was like, "That was cool." Because it's really it was at the time really cool for me seeing someone who's my age. I mean, Ja came into the league at like 19, and I think I was about 19, 20 at that time. Just seeing someone who's my age out there performing, hanging with like some of the greatest of all time. It was really, really awesome, and to see him give me a little props, just a tiny amount of props, was awesome.
I bet, dude. Like, you see these people and players, especially on TV, and they're larger than life, and then you're in the locker room and you're like, oh, it's just a dude. He's just a guy.
Got a
I
little
love
nervous,
that.
not gonna lie. Got a little
Oh,
nervous.
definitely. How could you not? Well,
Yeah.
do you want to share like any stories or items to share from the time with the Suns?
Any stories or items to share? I would just say the thing I always think about the most, the coolest experience for me, was when COVID happened. We were the only people in the arena. Like, there was no fans. There was no family allowed. Or at some point there's a little family allowed, but there was no one. So being able to like just watch the purest form of the game, being able to hear every single little thing that these players are saying, that would to me, it probably was close to what the bubble product was just like, just pure basketball. And as someone who's a big defender, loves hearing all the talking on switches and rotations. I love that. I love that side of the game.
Gotta stay locked in, man. That's how guys end up being in the league for 10 to 12 years, Well, I appreciate you sharing your stories with the Suns, but I definitely want to make sure that we talk about the why a little bit, because it's something that I'm very passionate about, and I know that you are as well. Chris can probably attest the same thing. He coached with me for a number of years. There you
Yes,
go.
sir.
He's got the shirt
Wearing
on.
that shirt yesterday, actually. Nice.
Valley Wild Champs.
So I know you
I'd love
talked
to know.
about your start, back playing while you were still in high school, being a part-time employee, but now as a sports director, when the opportunity arose, kind of what were your thoughts going into that, and how did you know you wanted to take advantage of the opportunity?
Yeah. So my biggest passion has always I've always loved coaching. I started coaching when I was still playing. I started coaching at 17. Greg Bauslager, the former sports director, current executive here, anytime he needed like a third, fourth grade rec coach, or a fifth, a younger kid coach, a younger team that needed a coach, I was always willing to step up. And that I feel like had a large impact on my leadership development as well. But when I graduated from college, I really wasn't like, I took the summer off. Like, I wasn't like going out looking for jobs. I was kind of just like, wow, this is the first time I've had to just like breathe for a minute. So I took 2-3 months off of quitting Culinary Dropout, only working really the Mercury games. I picked up like a Sprouts job towards the end of summer, but I really wasn't looking for anything. And then when I did graduate, I gave Greg Bauslag a card. He was still the sports director at that time. Gave him a graduation card, and let him know, like, yeah, I kind of want to get back into training a little more than coaching, but I still wouldn't mind, coaching or doing whatever, if he ever had a need. And I didn't end up coaching, but when he got promoted to what was it, vice executive, something like that. When he got promoted to the branch leader, he needed a sports director, and he just reached out to me. I didn't really see the posting or anything. He reached out to me, and I just thought, wow, that's something I've always wanted to do, but I've never even thought that I did want to do it. I just thought about how great of an opportunity. I didn't even, I'm still 22. I didn't think, at the time I was still 22. I didn't even really think about, what my next step would be. I really had no idea. So when I got presented the opportunity, I pounced at it.
I don't blame you. It sounds like an incredible opportunity. And what has been your, some of your favorite moments as a sports director so far?
Yeah. So I'm just so proud of the partnership that my two worlds have, right? The Phoenix Suns, the YMCA. I'm just so proud of the partnership and the ability for both to live and breathe together. And as sports director, I've had a great mentor in Greg, so I've been able to learn the ropes. But then when I first got hired on, I was really ambitious too, and I still am really ambitious. But when I first got hired on, I had a lot of visions. I was able to execute on a decent amount of them, and some I'm still waiting on. Some I'm still trying to work towards. A couple of them were involvement with the coaches and the players. So I did some really awesome things. One I came in during the playoffs the end playoffs of the winter season, and so I had about 2-3 months off before the next season. So, in that off time, I wanted to do some things to give back to the community that I grew up in, that I played in. I wanted to give back to the community because at the end of the day, I feel like that's the wise job, is to give back to the community. So one thing I saw was all our coaches, they're volunteers. We don't pay them anything, right? They're here out of the good and kindness of their heart. So my first thing was, I want to reward these coaches. I want to give them an opportunity that I want to give them part of the experience that I get at the Phoenix Suns. I want them to have a little bit of a taste of this as well. So we organized with the help of Greg Bauslog, Shaquina Albrow, who's was at the time the off-court player development manager for the Suns. My guy, he helped coordinate getting these coaches here. So we got Brian Gates and Jarrett Jack to basically teach 35 coaches, YMCA coaches, how to coach. And they were able to ask questions, get feedback. They showed them drills. They talked about different ways to approach the game and approach coaching. And it was an awesome event. We actually had with 8 YMCAs in the Valley have sports programs, and all 8 had at least 1 or 2 coaches there. So it was just an awesome opportunity to kind of spread the knowledge of the game and just help grow the game and help our coaches out. It was awesome. Mike, should I touch on the other one a little as well?
Yeah, go for it, man.
Yeah. So, and then another thing we did. So at the time, in about a season later, we had it in the works. We had an idea of what we wanted to do, but I didn't kind of start to formulate the exact plans. But we were able to get Cam Johnson and Steve Scalzi. Steve was our G League coach this past season. He's an assistant coach for the Suns, as well as Ish Wainwright and Cam Johnson. So they came out. And at the time, I had about 10 high school teams in my program, and they did a clinic for the 10 high school teams there, about 70 kids, 75 kids. And I think about that number, and it was just an awesome experience. Kids were getting their shoes signed by Ish, and I still see those kids wearing the same shoes, like telling me they're about to go like Mike mode because they got the Ish Wainwright signed shoes. So it was an awesome event just to have those guys here, give some knowledge to the kids. And we actually kind of made it more like a revolved around shooting clinic, because Scalzi is like a developmental coach. And then Cam has, in my mind, like one of the prettiest jump shots in all of basketball. So, we focused a lot on those skills. And I feel like rather than just, touching on, a little bit of everything, we focused in on defense or on shooting. And I feel like the kids really got a lot of knowledge, a lot of little tips out of that experience. Tons of fun.
That's a once in a lifetime experience for those kids, man. You'd be surprised, for people who have season tickets, or a guy like yourself who gets to be around them all the time. There's a lot of people who don't get to even go to any games. So to have that opportunity to be around some of the best in the game, it's once in a lifetime. That's so awesome, dude. But with that being said, I obviously have to ask about coaching. Me and Chris have been at it for a very long time. You've roped me back into it as well. Shout out to Greg. You know, we're coaching a 7th and 8th grade team out of your branch now, and one, thank you. It's been too long, and I feel back
Thank you,
at
man.
home.
Thank you,
But
man.
the other thing is, you know, everybody has that moment. We've already talked about some great moments you've had on the Suns floor, your own playing experience. But what has been one of your favorite moments as a coach so far?
Oh man, I've had a lot of in the past year or two. I feel like just a lot of experiences. There, I'm coaching high school. This isn't my favorite, but I'm coaching high school last week, 2 weeks ago, and a kid comes up to me. He's like, "Hey, coach, you remember me?" And I'm like, can't put. He's a high schooler. I can't put a face to the name. Sorry, man. And he's like, "You were my first YMCA coach ever," and I was like, "Really?" And I ended up thinking a little about it, and I coached the kid back when he was in like 5th grade. And the crazy thing to me is I don't feel old, but that made me feel so old, like so old. Because like, you know, the kid obviously had a real big impact by me, and him coming back up to me just made me rethink about, you know, like the impact that I've had on other people, and you know, it's just another motivating thing to want to continue. um the biggest thing I think about, what I'm proud of, is my first season as director. I coached a high school team as well. That season, we did not win a game. We went 0-8 throughout the regular season. However, what I was so proud of that team, because every single loss was by less than double digits. Every single loss was close, and every single loss where we were trailing by double digits, trailing by 20. We didn't give up. They kept fighting and brought it back within striking distance, right? And as a coach, that's all you can ask for, is for the kids not to give up. And so come our playoff game, we play a team that we lost by to about like 5 in the regular season. We lost to them by 1 point, one single point, in a tough loss. But I was so happy because right after that moment, I was able to go and tell my kids, hey guys, I've been in contact with, you know, my people at the Suns, and we are going to be doing the Cam Johnson clinic. So that was their first opportunity hearing about, you know, being able to get that once in a lifetime opportunity. That was their first moment hearing about it, and it may have been after a loss, but it was an awesome moment. Fast forward, you know, like 10 minutes, 15 minutes, me and my brother saw that the Suns were still playing. So we go out to just a local bar to go watch the end of the game. And it's actually the last game Cam played before he got hurt, the one that you guys play in your intro video, of him hitting that dagger 3 against the Knicks. So that to me just felt like a full circle moment, right? I get to tell my kids who just went 0-8, hey, Cam's gonna come do this clinic. Cam goes out there and hits a career high game winner game, and that to me is my favorite moment. You know, just because it speaks a little to why we do it. It's not about wins. It's youth sports. It's not about wins. It's about helping the kids out, and, you know, trying to get them just confident in themselves, confident in their game, and keep developing them. So yeah, that's definitely my favorite moment in coaching.
That's pretty sweet that he recognized you all those years later, and having that like you highlighted that he was obviously impacted by your coaching and the development that you're speaking about. So to maybe a young player like him, or even at a high school age, what is maybe like some advice you would give a young player that's developing? And I think you were kind of touching on it earlier, but say a kid that wanted to like make his high school team or go out for his high school team.
Yeah, my advice would be to play with people who are older. Play with everyone. Go to pickup gyms where, you know, there's older people. You may not be able to get on because they don't like picking up kids, but play with people who are older, because the biggest thing I've noticed in my personal experience is every time you go and play in an older age range, there's always a step up in physicality. There's always a step up in just basketball knowledge. So go play with some people who are older, and get that experience of, you know, having to fight for every bucket. Go like, and, you know, you may not initially do well, but if you continue on, once you get back to playing people who are in your age range, you're gonna feel like you're doing a lot better. If it's a kid who's trying to make a team, the biggest thing is I would stress treat it like a job. Treat it like you really need it. Treat it like you have to get to this point, or else you're not gonna get it at all, because it's tough. Arizona athletics, Arizona basketball is not an easy route just to walk on and become the guy. So sometimes you got to find a different role, but sometimes you gotta work harder than the person next to you. So that's definitely my advice for younger people trying to find their place in basketball, or trying to find their place in making a team.
That's it, folks. Make sure you pass it along to your kids. Well, Jacob, do you got anything else for the people? Any last sentiments?
No, I just appreciate you guys having me on. Appreciate you guys let me, kind of tell the people my story. I'm kind of like I'm so hyper focused on what I do. Sometimes I forget to, reflect a little on the things that I've been blessed with the opportunity to live. So I appreciate you guys giving me, kind of that outlet, pun intended, to, kind of, talk a little about this stuff. I think it's a lot of fun. And if there's anyone here who, maybe saw it from my reposting, I don't always share this stuff with people who I'm close with. So I think it was just a fun time, and appreciate you guys having me on to talk a little about myself. I never do this, by the way. I really don't like talking about myself, but
so this was an exclusive interview.
Yeah, when it's for a good cause, and when it's something I can talk about, something I love, I can talk for days. If not, I'll sit in the corner and just kind of watch. But yeah, awesome. Appreciate you guys.
Well, we're more than appreciative for you joining us tonight. I'm more than sure that we're going to have you back. And I also wanted to say, man, I'm super proud of everything that you're doing at the Y. I can't wait to see what's next, not only there, but also with the Suns. So anybody who's watching, if you find yourself at a game this season, make sure you're looking on the floor for Jacob. And
I'll be shooting some bricks.
Thank you so much, man.
In between quarters, in between halftime, pregame, shooting some bricks up.
Well, you know what would help with that? If you come run with us at Ahwatukee one of these Sundays, you can work on that there.
There it is. You know what? Maybe I'll make an appearance soon. I'm not gonna promise this weekend, but I definitely think soon. It's the hardest part. Like, I got the one off day. I'm working Saturdays, but I'm gonna stop by.
Busy man.
Yeah. Appreciate you, Jacob. Have a good night, man.
You. Thanks, you
Take
too.
it easy.
Well, that was Jacob Moreno, East Valley Sports Director and Phoenix Suns court attendant. Like I said, make sure the next time you're at a Suns game, pull those binoculars out, take a look around, see if you can see them on the floor. And if you got any kids, youth sports is going on 4 times a year. There's 4 different seasons. Right now we're in the fall. Winter will be starting in December. So bring your kids out. It starts at preschool. So get them involved in the game early, the game that we love. But Chris, I think it's that time. I think it's the outlet point guard time. Are you ready to rock?
Yes, sir. Let's do it. What do you got for us this week?
So last night, the Phoenix Suns played the Denver Nuggets. We're about a week away from the first game of the official season, which is against the Dallas Mavericks on October 19th. I think next Wednesday at home. It'll be a TNT game. We have 34 games televised this year, Chris. 34? I can't believe it, dude. I mean, I knew this team was good, but they really want to show us out to the world, and I'm all about it. So past couple of past the outlet point guards that we've looked at, it's all really been positives. So today I wanted to look a little bit at a different aspect, and by no means am I saying that a preseason loss really means anything. I know we're going to talk about that in Reddit Reacts, but you got to start dissecting what this team is about. And the first 2 plays are just some, not bit of concerns, but just general things as a basketball coach and as a basketball player to try and kind of keep in mind when you're on the floor. So we can just roll it through real quick. I'll stop before the last one, and then we'll go back and dissect. So this is just some high action. I think that's Bones Highland getting in a screen and roll with Jeff Green, who attacks, creates, a good bit of separation, and there's a offensive rebound by DeAndre Ayton by DeAndre Jordan up against DeAndre Ayton. Funny thing that I say that, the Denver Nuggets announcer actually announced DeAndre Jordan as DeAndre Ayton last night. So it's all coming full circle. But then here's another decent play. Dwayne Washington Jr. gets a decent look, short arms it, but hustles with it, looks down low, finds Ish Wainwright for a nice slam. But we don't hustle back, and they get a transition basket like it's nothing. So
It's like that scene in Semi-Pro where they're all high-fiving and celebrating that they just scored a basket. Meanwhile, the other team just going right down.
and I know it happens so fast. It's so quick triggered, but those are the things that kind of grind your gears, So I'll go back, and I'll let you walk us through this one, Chris, and start telling us what you're seeing here. But, this is Booker picking up Bones Highland basically right across the three-point line. And this high action screen set is so high. I think the first thing that I noticed here, sorry, and I'm cutting you off already.
No, you're good.
Was
You're
that
good.
this transition screen here? I feel like it wasn't called out well enough by Torrey Craig, because if I'm going to fall back and be the one who falls on Bones Highland, I got to let Devin Booker know that his responsibility is Jeff Green way earlier than that. Is that something that you kind of saw too?
Yeah, no, that's the first thing I noticed is Booker's on the chase, and he does a kind of a good job of trying to hedge it a little bit and get on his hip, but Jeff Green just way too strong, is able to power through that. But still, it didn't matter. He didn't make the bucket. I think what stood out to me is it was interesting at first. I kind of, like you said, we've only been mostly showing positive, so I had a thinking that you were sending positive plays, and I was trying to see what's the positive here, and then I quickly realized, oh no, this is not a good thing. So I think, like I said, Devin Booker good up top, sticking with Jeff Green and putting the pressure on. And then, this is exactly what we were talking about with DeAndre Ayton and why we didn't want to give him the contract. The lazy stuff like this, where he could easily has the right on his back and could easily cut the lane right now and have gotten a dunk from Jeff Green if the timing had worked out right. But DeAndre Jordan doesn't even have to box him out that hard. He just, Olay, here you go. So
he barely gives him a left-hand push, and he's basically out of position right away.
Yeah, so I mean, like you said, not going to put too much stock in a preseason loss. I don't think you should ever be taking nights off, though, especially when there's so much around your name and about your gameplay, and you're trying to prove people wrong. It's just not good, a good sign early on, in my opinion. But not anything that can't be corrected. Just again, I'll emphasize the fact that this is pretty much exactly one of the big things we were worried about with DeAndre Ayton.
Yeah, that's just the will to rebound, the will to make sure that you're in position and put a body on somebody consistently night in, night out. The one thing with this screen, though, is it doesn't even look like Jeff Green really makes that much contact here. But the last thing I ever want is my defender to be rolling, thinking that he's sticking with the ball handler, and then have to completely switch his body to run out there. That's the last thing that I really ever want to see. Mm-hmm. But I think the bigger thing here is DeAndre Ayton just watching, right? As soon as that ball goes up from Jeff Green, you're not putting a hand up. You're not contesting. Your first thing as a big man is to find the body and make sure that you're in position if anything is short-armed. So that could be, a testament to, why he doesn't average 12 to 15 rebounds a game. But it'll be something to keep in mind when we come up, in this next year, especially since we're going to be undermanned at that 4 position with Cam Johnson playing a little bit more on the outside. So with this next play, it was a good play to start, but it's all about finishing through the entire play. You can't get complacent with a good play. You have to make sure that you play both ends of the floor. So Ish Wainwright has an incredible, nice slam, but
Mhm.
somehow we don't understand that there's a trailer after the missed shot. I mean, when Dwayne Washington makes or shoots this one right here, you got to
Mhm.
feel that guy on your back hip who's already falling behind because he went to contest, right? So
Yeah.
now I got to make sure that obviously stick with the ball first, right? They always say follow through, follow your shot, and he does a good job of that. But if it doesn't go your way, you got to make sure that you're headed back because you're the last line of defense. So after this play is made, this pass here, you got to hustle back. You know that this
Gotta
guy is
book it.
pushing down. You got to book it, man.
Mhm. And yeah, I
So
don't know if he wanted to see his assist come to fruition, if that might have been part of it. A beautiful pass, by the way, good court vision. I think it would be tempting there after getting your own rebound, to put up that 3-point shot again. Especially, he has the space. It seems like he could have pulled it, and maybe he should have. Maybe that could have been a 3-point basket. But I still like him finding that Ish Wainwright on the baseline, excuse me, to slam that in. But no, you're exactly right, Mike. He's watching, he's looking back, not paying attention, and you can't really see it, it's not in the frame, but maybe that Nuggets player kind of realized that he's slouching and kind of bolted it. I know you can, players have good court vision, they have a good awareness of what's going on, and I wouldn't doubt if that was something that was picked up on. So not the biggest deal, not anything that's going to keep me up at night, but just something that's going to be embarrassing when they watch it back on game film, and that'll need to get cleaned up.
right. And you do see, your guy, Jock Landell right here, he does point up and says, hey, there's that man down there. You got to go. You got to go, right as the ball is inbounded. But Washington just couldn't get back. With that being said, our last play was a very impressive play by that same guy, Jock Landell. Just some simple screen action up top and a lazy pass inside that Landell scoops and immediately passes it off and points. Give me that ball back. I'm excited to see what's going to happen with this rotation and how many minutes he's really going to get. From some reports, it sounds like he's kind of started to shore up that backup center position. Bismack Biyombo hasn't played that much in the preseason, and I think they like what he can do on both ends of the floor and his ability to stretch out. He can handle the basketball a little bit more than Bismack can, and they trust his handles. But I love this play, man. I love guys getting rewarded for a good defensive play on the other end. That's my favorite thing.
Good hustle too, though. I mean, Nuggets take 1 second off. They slouch for 1 second, thinking he can get that lazy pass across the top of the key. And Jock Landale, trying to earn his minutes, said, "Heck no, I'm taking that from you, and I'm going coast to coast." It's just he's doing it all here. You see, he makes the smart read, slows it down, the change of speed, gets the defender having to make quick decisions. And I mean, the defender did what he should have. He contested the guy that had the ball, but man, smart play, good finish, and they got back on defense on this one. So I'm really excited to see what Jock Landell does. It seems like the Suns always, and maybe it's not specific to the Suns, but they always have one guy that's a bench player, 6th, 7th man that just really, captures the hearts of the fan base. And it seems like Jock might be trending towards being that guy.
Yeah, I was listening to another podcast today where I guess he's been kind of chirping at Mikal Bridges on Twitter a lot. Maybe he's trying to get on the good favor of Suns fans and become another fan favorite. Because then, maybe coach will be a little bit more susceptible to keeping him out there a little bit longer than he might need to.
Got to give the people what they want.
So, excited for preseason to finally be coming to an end so we can really start to see what this rotation is going to look like. But with that being said, Chris, for Reddit Reacts, you had a really, really funny first one for us. When you sent it to me, I definitely had a good chuckle. And are you seeing some similarities of Jock Landell and is that Frank Kaminsky?
Yeah, it's eerily similar. When you don't have your glasses on, it's Jock Landell and he's there and he's catching oops and slamming them in. But then when you really put on the specs and focus in, it kind of starts to look like Frank Kaminsky, and that's what Puzzleheaded Win 1529 on Reddit posted. I mean, I see it. I see it. I don't think Jock's quite as tall as Frank. Could be wrong there. I mean, once you're over 6'10", what does it really matter too much? But I'm excited again. Like just like I was just saying, I'm really excited to see what Jock brings to the table.
I think he's probably like 2 inches shorter than him, but it seems like he has a little bit bigger of a build. Because, you know, the time that Frank Kaminsky was on our team, he did have some post game, but he was a pretty decent shooter from the outside. And I feel like that was kind of his main item of substance for this team. So, hey, Frank the Tank, he was a fan favorite as well. So maybe it's all coming to fruition for Jock Lindell, and he's going to be the next guy that steps into that. But Chris, here's the other one that I got for you. I think you said NBA has suspended Suns owner Robert Sarver for 1 year from the Suns and Mercury organization based on league investigation. Sarver has also been fined $10 million and complete training program focused on respect and appropriate workplace conduct. And somebody said who? And then they said Suns owner Luka Doncic. Man, we can't be done with this still. Is it just we got to start the season and he's still our owner? My goodness, man.
So that makes me wonder, because I was a little inspired by these the different angle for pass the outlet. For outlet point guard, where it was some negative plays. But for Reddit Reacts, I went and kind of skimmed the Mavericks subreddit and some of the other subreddits of different NBA teams. And so came across this little gem on the Mavericks Reddit. As you can imagine, you can see they're loving that. I think 518 upvotes. But what I was going to say is it kind of makes you wonder, do the Mavericks live rent-free in our head and Luka Doncic, or do the Suns live rent-free in Mavericks' heads? It almost seems like maybe they think about us a little more than we think about them. I know I'm still salty of how the season ended and that series, but I don't know if that was necessarily the Mavericks winning as much as it was the Suns losing that series, if that makes sense.
No, that totally makes sense. Yeah, it took me about 2 weeks. You went through the grieving process, the pain, the anguish, the anger, and now I don't care. Like I'm ready to go. I still trust this unit over Luka Doncic and the Mavericks. I still don't think they have a good enough core to get them over that hump. I think they're still a few pieces away in regards to a little bit older of guys. You know what I mean? I do like the addition of Christian Wood. I do like them bringing in JaVale McGee, and maybe that'll help them, you know, rally up the older guys to become a little bit more settled for a playoff run. But, you know, one thing I wouldn't be surprised is if we see Luka Doncic win MVP this year. It just seems like that's kind of the trajectory that his career has been going so far. Yeah. And I'll give props to him, but you know, right now the Suns owner is Robert Sarver. It's not Luka Doncic. I don't care what you say, but it's not going to be Robert Sarver for much longer, probably within the next couple of months. But you know, season is almost tomorrow. Will be a week. I'm ready to go. I don't care anymore about any kind of losses. I know the Suns lost last night, 107-105. We lost to the 36ers, but our last one that you brought up, Chris, was a good one. And I think it just really cements our feelings when it comes to preseason, and maybe not just even for basketball. You know, it can be for football, for baseball with spring training, but I just like, are we running out of things to talk about?
Yeah. I mean, who knows? It seems like, though, what I was kind of noticing is the Suns fan base isn't the only one feeling this. You know, when you have a contending team, we can be realistic about it and understand matchups, injuries. But I think as a Suns fan, I think the Suns have one of the best squads in the league, and on any given night, they could beat every team in the league. So clearly, I would say Nets fans probably have that expectation as well, given their big two or big three, whatever you want to call them these days. But it's going to be okay. You know, just take some deep breaths, get these preseason L's. The 36ers in Adelaide can run their newspaper headlines about historic wins overseas. But at the end of the day, these guys are professionals. They know what they're doing. Once the season starts is when the real basketball will happen. So I think we're all Bugs Bunny here waiting for the season to start, drinking our carrot juice a little bit, sad when we lose, but pretty soon here, less than a week, I think, or just about a week, these games are going to get started up and we'll see what the league looks like.
Yeah, get the non-hustling back on transition defense out right now. Get the not rebounding strong out right now. We'll be ready to go on Wednesday. But Chris, anything else for the people before we wrap up tonight?
Nah, man, I just have to say this was a pretty awesome episode, having Jacob on, picking his brain about his time as a court attendant and as a coach and all the other things that he's done. I know there's a lot more he could have shared with us if he had the time. So really gonna look forward to having him back on in the future. I love doing this past the outlet, man. It's ever since you kind of pitched the idea and we came up and got this all together and starting to now kind of see it come to fruition. I'm really excited for where we take this and the people and conversations we'll be having. So hope everyone else enjoyed it. Let us know in the comments below and let us know if you have anyone that you want us to try and get on. I know we're kind of small time, so it might not be able to get the players, but who knows? You might know someone and you can refer them our way.
Absolutely. Make sure you keep an eye on our socials at AZ_VSP, Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. We're going to have some more special guests coming on to Pass the Outlet. We got some other people from the Valley of the Sun YMCA, some of our friends who play semi-pro basketball, and maybe we'll bring some of our knucklehead friends in from our Sunday runs and have some pretty good conversations. But once again, thank you to Jacob Moreno. Thank you, Chris. Thank you, all of you. We'll see you guys next time. This was Pass the Outlet, episode 5. Have a great night.
Peace. Valley champs.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Ball is life, plain and simple. Ask any baller. If you know, you know.
The game has changed, but it's still the same. You want it, go get it.
Shazam!
The inbounds pass comes into Jordan. Here's Michael at the foul line. The shot on Elo. Ah! The Bulls win! They win it!
Mike, you're honestly telling me that he's top 5.
Yeah.
Top 5 of all time.
No question about it.
Booker, this is for the win. Got it. Wow.
The ruling on the floor is made basket.
One thing's for sure. Over at Valley Sports Plug, you're never going to catch us slipping. With the first overall pick, the Phoenix Suns select
3, 2, 1.